Okay, this is Mr. Wallace, your driver education instructor, and we are in part two of lesson number one. We get back into the present mode, and we are determining whether the following risk factors are driver contributed, vehicle contributed, or roadway contributed. And just to remind you, our course situates us in the highway traffic or highway transportation system. Okay, where are we in this whole thing? Well, we just talked about regulations that states and the nation have created for us in terms of driver's licenses and using roadways. Ours is situated in New York State, and it's about graduated driver's licenses and moving from a permanent, or not a permanent, but a permit, a driver permit, where you practice driving with an adult, to a junior license where you are given some freedom to drive independently, to a full driver license where there is no more restrictions on you than there is on any other driver on the road. Okay. And remember, this course is about defensive driving. It's about making you a great driver. And a great driver is a safe driver, someone who's not going to contribute to risk, who's going to, on the whole, reduce risk on the road so that it's safer for all road users. Okay. There has been, again, we're kind of situated in this movement that's been going on since the 1950s, and definitely has picked up actually in the last 30 years of making it safer to be on the road. Okay. There are much less deaths on the road than there were 15, 20, 25 years ago. Okay. So here we are trying to identify driver contributed, vehicle contributed, or roadway contributed risks, right? So if someone's angry, that's going to be, here's everything. Driver contributed. Broken fan belt is vehicle contributed. Talking to passengers, driver contributed. Narrow bridge, right? That's roadway, right? School zone is roadway. Broken windshield, that's a vehicle contributed higher risk, increase in risk. Speeding is a driver contributed risk. Swerved over center line for whatever reason, that's a driver contributed risk. Broken power steering belt, well, that's definitely a vehicle contributed risk, right? Drinking and driving, that's the drivers contributing to a higher risk on the road. No painted lane lines, that is a roadway risk. Traffic jams increase risk on the road, and that is a roadway risk. Using cell phones, that's on the driver. A stuck accelerator, that is a vehicle. And improper lane position, that is a driver contributed risk. Okay. So, and it is the driver's responsibility at the end of the day to take care of all these vehicle contributed risks, like broken windshields and stuck accelerators and broken power steering belts. It's not acceptable. In fact, it's against the law to continue to drive with a broken windshield. It's your responsibility to get that fixed or not take that vehicle on the road. Hey, here we go. Okay, and we just talked about where we're situated as young drivers in New York State, right? So at first we have our junior permit, right? Where there's some restrictions. First of all, you can't even get your driver permit until you're 16, right? You need to pass a standard test, right, offered by the DMV. You must have parental supervision or a guardian or a driver, a driving school instructor supervising you while you drive, right? They all have to be over 21 and have a valid driver's license, among other credentials, right? And once you have spent 6 months minimum practicing driving with these people and under these circumstances, then you can apply for a junior license, right? And so you have to take a road test to do that. Uh, you just don't get it for free. You have to do either a 5-hour mini defensive driving course, or you have to do what we're doing, which is a 24-hour behind the wheel and 24-hour in the classroom defensive driving course, basically driver traffic safety course. Okay, and this would allow for unsupervised driving with curfews and passenger restrictions, right? You can't have someone under the age of 21 in the front seat with you. I believe that's one of our restrictions. I'd have to look again. You definitely can't have more than one person under the age of 21 in the car with you unless they are your direct relatives. Okay. So and then you can apply for your unrestricted driver license either by turning 18 or in our case, turning 17, so long as you've completed number 2 and you've completed our course. Okay, and this is an unrestricted driver's license, right? So no more GDL restrictions. Junior driver license restrictions in New York City, though, there are many, right? So first of all, you cannot drive past 9 p.m. You can't drive from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., right? So there's no nighttime driving in the city, in New York City, in any of the 5 boroughs. Okay, you can only drive with a parent, guardian, or driver ed instructor or a person serving as your parent, like, for example, your uncle. And that supervisor has to have a New York State, valid New York State driver's license and be over 21. And only one other passenger in the car is under 21 unless they are a family member. And the vehicle must be equipped with a dual brake in order for any of this to go down in the 5 boroughs. Okay. Otherwise, you have to leave New York City and practice driving someplace else, either upstate or in New Jersey or on Long Island. Okay, so there are more New York City restrictions. So there's no driving on any street in a park in New York City. And the first thing that comes to my mind, of course, is driving on the streets that cross Central Park, okay, in Manhattan. No bridge or tunnel that's under the jurisdiction of the Triborough Bridge Authority or the Tunnel Authority. So you have to check the internet and make sure which bridges and tunnels you can drive in on. However, I think all the tunnels are restricted for you until you have your full driving license. Okay. There are no parkways. You cannot drive on parkways into or out of Westchester County, right? So there's a bunch of them. There's the Hutchinson River, the Cross County, there's the Sawmill River, and the Taconic State Parkways. These are all out of bounds for people driving with their permit or junior driver license. Okay, so let's take this is the New Jersey restrictions. Okay, so permit and probationary drivers under 21 drive outside the prescribed hours for employment. Okay, so you need to basically drive no later than 11 p.m. and no earlier than 5 a.m. in New Jersey. Okay, so you also have to have your supervising driver along with you, needs to be an adult over at least 21 years of age. Okay, so it does say they need to possess a valid New Jersey driver license and have a minimum of 3 years driving experience. Parents, guardians, and or dependents are allowed as passengers. A dependent can be the driver's child, not a brother or sister, though. Okay. Only one additional passenger is allowed unless accompanied by a parent or guardian. You cannot use cell phones, handheld video games, or any other interactive wireless device, whether it is hands-free or not. Seatbelts must be worn at all times. Okay, so the graduated license law restrictions. So again, when we talk about graduated driver's licenses, we're talking about a range of restrictions depending on where you are in the process. So the restrictions definitely depend on whether you have a junior driver license, junior learner permit, or a junior driver license, right? So with a permit, you have to be with somebody in the car with you. If you have your junior driver license, depending on where you are in New York State, you can drive independently. Okay. Where and when you will be driving in New York State, right? So where and when counts for the graduated driver license law. If you do not comply with these restrictions, your junior learner permit or your junior driver license could be suspended or revoked for 60 days. Okay. So there are different restrictions in different parts of New York State. Okay. They go from most restricted to least restricted. Okay. And it's basically based on volume of traffic because volume of traffic automatically increases risk. Okay. And that's where we're trying to manage in our course is risk. That's what your parents are trying to manage when they sign you up for this course. Okay. So in all 5 boroughs, it is extremely risky to drive in the 5 boroughs. Okay. There's a lot of volume, which means there's a lot of stuff happening. Okay. And it takes time to learn and get experience with all this stuff happening. So when can you drive? You can only drive when in a vehicle with dual controls. That's a dual brake. Okay. The instructor's brake, and when you are accompanied by a parent, a guardian, or a person in loco parentis, like a driver education teacher or a driving school instructor who is age 21 or older and has a valid driver license to operate the type of vehicle you are in. Okay. You cannot drive between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. There are no exceptions to this. Okay, now we're on Long Island, which is both Nassau and Suffolk County. Okay, so it doesn't matter even if you go all the way out to the end of Long Island in Suffolk County, these restrictions will still apply. Okay, between 5 a.m. and 9 p.m., you may only drive when you are accompanied by a parent or a guardian, a person in loco parentis like a driver education teacher or a driving school instructor. Okay, the one difference is you don't need the dual brake. You don't need the instructor's brake to drive and practice in Long Island. In New York City, you need to have that. Your instructor needs to have that brake. Okay, let's look at, again, on Long Island, you cannot drive between 9 and 5. Okay, upstate. And so this is all other counties in New York, right? So the 5 boroughs are 5 different counties, and you have Nassau and Suffolk on Long Island. Then all the other counties in New York, you can drive between 5 and 9. You may only drive when you are accompanied by a person aged 21 or older who has a valid driver license to operate the type of vehicle you were in, right? So it does no longer needs to be your parent, no longer needs to be that driver education teacher, no longer needs to be a guardian, just needs to be someone who's 21 and has a valid driver license. You don't need the dual brake, okay? And then after 9 p.m. all the way to 5 a.m., you may only drive when accompanied by a parent, guardian, person in loco parentis, driver education teacher, or driving school instructor who is age 21 or older and has a valid driver license to operate the type of vehicle you are in. So you can continue to practice driving after 9 p.m. in all other counties besides these 7. Okay, here we go. Where will you be driving? That's a good question. Restrictions will vary depending on which of the 3 following geographic regions you are driving in, right? Upstate, New York City, or Long Island. All right. Remember, in the end, you are required by New York State before you are going for your road test, you need to spend 15 hours practicing driving after sunset. So the only place where you can do that without a dual brake, in fact, the only place you can do that is in upstate New York, okay, or in New Jersey. Okay, so review the applicable versions of New York State Department of Health's brief overview of New York State graduation driver licensing law for more information. Okay, yeah. Junior permit to junior license. So we are moving along from your junior permit to your junior license. So to move from a permit to a junior license, you must hold a junior permit for a minimum of 6 months, right? So you can't even apply for a road test until you've done 6 months, until 6 months after the date of issue of your permit, okay? You have to take either a pre-licensing course, right? That's the 5-hour pre-licensing course. Gives you like a mini version of what we're doing, which is the driver education course, right? Or also called driver traffic safety education course. Okay, that's the official name of our course here. That's 24 hours in the classroom and then 24 hours behind the wheel. You must complete at least 50 hours of parent supervised driving, and 15 of those need to be after sunset. So you need to go upstate or over to New Jersey to get those 15 hours after sunset. Okay. You have to, and that's part of the MV 262 certification of supervised driving. Even the certification of completion that you will get from us, the certificate of completion that you will get from us, is the MV 285. So I'm going to try to write that out for us, even though I'm not easy. MV 285. And you need to bring this with you to your driving test, okay, to your road test. You're going to bring this one, and you're going to bring this one, okay? This one is the attestation by your parent that you drove 50 hours, okay, 15 after sunset, okay? And then you got to schedule and pass the road test. And you're going to bring these two documents with you to the road test so that you will be cleared and ready to take the test. Okay, so we'll go to this. Moving along. Okay, recommended hours of driving. It is recommended that at least 10 hours of the supervised practice be in moderate to heavy traffic. That's for the MV 262. Do not start off in heavy traffic. In fact, I think all of you are probably going to, not in our course, we don't want you practicing in heavy traffic. Definitely not right away, okay? Only when your parent is comfortable with you practicing in heavy traffic. Supervised practice should occur in a variety of driving environments. That's absolutely true. And weather conditions. Very good. Okay, the junior license to unrestricted license. So if you're under 18, so here's what we got if we're under 18. If you are 17, you are eligible for an unrestricted license. That's your class D or M if it's a motorcycle. If you have a junior driver license or a limited junior driver license and you have completed a state-approved high school or college driver education course, that's what we are here at Wagner. We're state-approved, and this is your state-approved driver education course, okay? To change your junior driver license to a senior or unrestricted driver license, you bring your junior license and the student certificate of completion, the MV 285, that you received from me and Wagner to any DMV office, okay? Or you can take it to your road test, okay? If you've already done a road test, then you're definitely taking it to the DMV. You must return your certificate and junior license to receive the senior license, okay? Otherwise, you will still be considered a junior license operator and subject to the graduated driver license law restrictions, okay? So if you have already gotten your junior license before completing our course, then you take the MV 285 to the DMV. If you have not, you take the 285 with you to the road test. Okay, your junior license, restricted or unrestricted license. Okay, so a junior license is restricted. Okay, a fully unrestricted license will be sent in the mail to anyone holding a junior license after they're 18, or if they're 17 and they've taken the MV 285. Okay, so some of the things. What's the purpose of the highway transportation system? And what are the three components, right? What's the purpose? To move goods and people efficiently, economically, and safely from one place to another. And what are the three components? Well, there's roadways, there's vehicles, and there are users. How has New York State managed the risk of young drivers entering the highway transportation system? Right? Managed risk. This is a risk management course, guys. Okay? And it's learning how to manage the risk on the road. And remember, driving is seriously the most risky thing that you are ever likely to do in your life. Okay? And you're going to be doing this like every day. How does New York State manage it? They introduced the graduated driver licensing law. Okay. This has proven to prevent crashes. It helps young drivers like yourselves gradually and safely build your skills behind the wheel by progressing through a series of licensing stages. Okay. It graduated driver licensing law has proven to be very successful, and that's why so many states have adopted it. Okay. So, phase one, phase two, phase three, when we talk about the graduated driver licensing law. So, unrestricted driver license, that's going to be phase three, right? Okay. Junior permit or junior motorcycle permit must be 16, pass a written permit test, and drive under parental supervision. That's phase one. And your junior license or junior motorcycle license with restrictions, like when you can do this and who you're with, allows for unsupervised driving with curfews and limits on the number of passengers. That's going to be phase two. Okay, let's continue. What are the three types of risk factors present in the highway transportation system? There are many different risk factors, guys, but there are driver factors, there are roadway factors, and there are vehicle factors, right? How can your attitude affect driving? Your attitude is going to save lives. Okay. What is your attitude about rules and uh, being respectful on the road is going to save lives. Okay. And that's it for today's lesson. Have a great day. Please feel free to comment down below, and we will see you for lesson number 2.